Hello, and welcome to Page Chewing Comics and Manga Weekly Pulls, episode number 7. I want to thank all of you for listening, if you are listening, or you must be if you can hear me, right? My name is Steve, and I am getting back into the world of comics after taking a few years off. I used to read a lot of comics, and I just took a break. I was reading other books, other forms of literature, and now I'm trying to get back into the swing of things and trying different books that may or may not appeal to me. So each week I discuss a few of these that I've pulled for the week, and whether or not I'll be continuing with the series. I'll try not to give too many spoilers for the books, but I will be mentioning a few things here and there. I have noticed that even some of the previews spoil some things, so I'll try to avoid things that spoil the book if you haven't had a chance to read them yet. So let's go ahead and get into it. This week, I picked a few books that I normally wouldn't have. I just decided to try a few of them that I would normally pass on, but they were number ones, and I thought, well, we'll give it a shot. So let's talk about the first one. It is Magneto number 1. It is written by J.M. DeMatteis. I'm probably butchering your name, GM. I'm really sorry. And it is illustrated by Todd Knock. Now, this one, I have a soft spot for the X-Men. I read a lot of the Chris Claremont stuff way back in the early 90s, late 80s. And I have a soft spot for that group and Magneto, and I always mispronounce his name. And so I just decided we'll give this a shot, see what happens, see what we have in store in the series. So in this one, Magneto finds himself as being a teacher for the New Mutants. I'm not up to date with all the other events going on or all the other storylines, so some of that wasn't totally clear to me, but in this one, we do explore the character, his history, whether or not he can be anything but a villain, and we do revisit some past events from different viewpoints, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I do really like this character. I think he's a great character, and it's always appealed to me. On this one, the artwork is vibrant and clean. It has a kind of a look and feel that, while it was well done, it's usually not the type of artwork that I really enjoy. It's not the type of artwork I gravitate towards. So it is well done, but it's not what I enjoy. So, I can say that it's good, but it's just not the type of artwork that I usually like to consume. Now, in this one, like I said, it was fine. It was okay. I did enjoy the different perspectives. I did enjoy kind of what happens at the end. We're introduced to a different character at the end that I believe is a new character. And I think I like what they're doing with it. I like the idea behind the book. I just couldn't get into it. It just didn't do it for me. So unfortunately, I will not be continuing with this one. The New Mutants, I haven't read a New Mutants book since the early 90s. Like I said, there's some interesting ideas, but not enough for me to continue with this one. So, but if you're a fan of the X-Men or the X-Men universe, the New Mutants, then this may be something you want to check out, but just not something that appealed to me personally. So, the second one that I picked up this week that I normally wouldn't have picked this one out, is What If Dark Venom number 1. This is by Stephanie Phillips and art by Jethro Morales, and this is Marvel, of course. I do enjoy kind of the reimagining of stories, and there's so much continuity that it's hard to, just like with Magneto, it's hard to get into books that there's so much history there for someone like me trying to get back into it. And these are fun. I've always enjoyed these types of stories, kind of what if this happened instead of what really happened. I do enjoy that. Now in this one, Ben Grimm, or the Thing, ends up in contact with Venom, with the symbiote, and I don't know a whole lot about Ben Grimm or the Thing to really be invested in his character. I've never really been a fan of the Fantastic Four or the Thing or Ben Grimm for that matter. So some of the references and some of the conversations were a little bit lost on me because I don't know a lot about it. So that, someone who is familiar would probably get more out of it. I was surprised at how dark it was, which I appreciate because I have a black soul. And the ending was darker than I expected, which I did enjoy. I like when creatives just go for it. Now the artwork in this one reminded me a lot of the artwork in the previous book I discussed. It's clean and colorful. It pops off the page. It just isn't the type of artwork that I normally would go for. So, like I said, it's something that is well done, but it's not something that I particularly enjoy. So, so overall, it was okay. I didn't mind it. I've read some other reviews on it, and it seems like people really enjoy it. I don't have a whole lot of investment in the Marvel Universe. So, like I said, for this book and the previous book, on me anyway, if someone who doesn't have that investment or hasn't had that investment for a long time, it it was okay, but it just wasn't something that I loved or something I really enjoyed. It was fine. For this one, the What If series, like I said, I do enjoy the reimagining, kind of the Elseworld stuff. So I do enjoy that. So I'll keep my eyes out for different characters, different scenarios that this series presents. If there's something that I may feel like I can connect better with, I'll give it a shot. But this one, it was okay. I'll keep my eyes peeled for this series, though, like I said. Now, the next one, I'm on the fence because I had a pick of the week chosen, and I keep going back and forth. So the next one I'm going to discuss is Fire and Ice #1. This is written by Bill Willingham and art by Leonardo Menko. This is by Dynamite Comics. Now, this is a prequel to a 1983 movie that I'm not familiar with. The artwork, and this one I really enjoyed. The covers for this, the Frank Frazetta inspired covers. Love the covers. I love the artwork. I love the feel. I love Frazetta, so I'm a huge fan. The story was fine. I felt a little bit let down from this one. I felt like that there was we jumped in the middle of a story instead of the beginning, and I just didn't feel an attachment to any of the characters. I didn't feel like I really knew what was happening. We get bits and pieces, but I just couldn't get into it. I just couldn't engage with it. It just felt like there was something I was missing. It didn't feel like a first issue. I'm also not a huge fan of traditional sword and sorcery fantasy, so that genre just, like I said, just isn't my bag. It was fine. It has all the elements of something I should enjoy. This is something that I normally would enjoy, but it just didn't click for me. It just didn't do it for me. I just couldn't connect with it. It just, it was fine. The artwork I really loved, but this, it was all well done. I just couldn't connect with it. I couldn't engage with it. Just didn't do it for me. Kind of fell flat. For this series, I'll keep my eyes peeled on it, and I'll kind of, keep up with it. I won't buy another issue until, we get more of it and I can kind of take a peek at it. So I'm not ruling it out at this point, but I don't think it's something that I'll continue. But like I said, I will keep an eye out for it. Like I said, it had everything that I normally would enjoy. And the cover itself, I think, is worth the price of the cover, worth the price of the book, because they're beautiful covers, just awesome covers. I love that artwork. But like I said, it felt like I was missing something. And when I found out that it was a prequel, I thought maybe there is something I'm missing from this movie that other people who are familiar with that world may get. That's something that I just didn't know. Maybe there's some things there's references that I just didn't get. So overall, it was fine. Like I said, just couldn't engage. Now, the next one I want to talk about, I've been going back and forth on this one which is Night Terrors, The Joker #2. This is written by Matthew Rosenberg and art by Stefano Raphael. This is, of course, by DC Comics. Now, the Night Terrors series, I don't know, I just haven't really loved a whole lot of them. There's been a few that I've enjoyed. The Joker #1 was one that I really enjoyed. I really liked that one. It was really funny. I love the putting Joker in like an office space type of scenario where the Joker is the Joker, but he's in an office dealing with all the corporate, bullshit that we deal with, that some of us deal with. And you think most of us can relate to that kind of thing where, we're in, day in and day out, that kind of thing, office building, politics, and things like red tape, and just So that was fun. I really enjoyed it. I think it was. I love the setup for it. In the first issue, we do have a clue that there is a Batman running around when Batman was supposed to die in the beginning of issue 1. That's what kind of set this whole thing in motion. And Insomnia is the villain who is putting everyone to sleep, and we're witnessing their dreams. So this is a dream that Joker's having, and we're kind of along for the ride. The humor in this one was great. I really loved it. There was some great humor in it. There's also a reference to the 1989 Batman movie that I thought was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty cool. I got a kick out of that. Now in this one, this one introduces more elements that I just wasn't sure. Batman is still roaming around when we know that he's dead, and the Batman looks like the Joker and talks like the Joker, and isn't Batman. It seems like it's Joker, but Joker that is in this office, working for Wayne Enterprises. We're trying to piece together what's really happening, and I still don't know what really happened. And maybe I'm just not very smart, which is completely possible, but I'm not quite sure exactly what was happening. I think the thing with this is that it's a dream, so it may not necessarily make sense. That's kind of where I'm settling now. Is it's a dream, and dreams, we all know, don't always make sense. And I think that's kind of what they were going for, and it's kind of a letdown if that's what their thought process was, because it's a bummer. I think there's a lot of potential here, a lot of great ideas that could have really paid off, although I'm not sure that you can pull it off in 2 issues. I think the first one set things up. I think maybe 1 or 2 more issues, like a 3 or 4 part series, could have kind of stretched this out and done more with this idea. I really thought there was a great setup here, Joker in this office environment, but it's just, I was really excited for this one, but the end comes very abruptly. We're kind of getting the story's unraveling, and the end comes very fast, and it was a letdown. I have to say, it just was not something that I was very happy with, and I kind of wondered when I finished it, knowing that it was a 2-issue arc. I just thought, like, what's the point? Like, why do we do this? I guess it was funny. I did enjoy the humor, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like, what was that about? Like, why do we bother, kind of thing. I kind of feel like we didn't have things weren't wrapped up. We didn't have a bow on the top. It didn't feel finished. It just felt like we were developing everything. The story was rolling along, and then it's over. It's like we're missing something here. It just didn't. The final end of that book just ends, and it just was very disappointing. I'm really bummed. I wonder if they kind of ran out of road here, if they had an idea and they just couldn't finish it in 2 issues and they had to wrap it up. And that's the only thing I can think of, because everything else was done very well. I enjoyed it. It just, it was a bummer. I'm really bummed out about this one. And I think there's some ideas here that they really could have went with, but I don't really know what was happening with Batman, what that was all about. So while it was funny, is a letdown, unfortunately. So I'm just kind of ready for this whole Night Terrors thing to be over. While I'm not a huge DC fan anyway, it's been, I don't know about everyone else, but it's kind of worn me out. There's so many of them, and so many of them don't tie into the main series that it's like, why? Why are we doing this? What's the point? I don't know. Maybe someone out there has the answer, because I don't. Okay, so the next one, there's 2 more I want to talk about. These last 2 are the ones that I keep going back and forth on. Even as I'm recording this, I had one of these books pegged as my pick of the week, and as I'm thinking about what I'm going to say about each of them and looking over my notes, I keep switching back and forth to which one should be the pick of the week. So the next one I want to talk about is not the pick of the week, but it was very close second, which is the Bone Orchard Mythos Tenement number 2. This is written by Jeff Lemire. art by Andrea Sorrentino and Dave Stewart. Now, the first issue I thought did a great job at setting up the world, and I'm not familiar with this universe. I'm new to it, so I don't know what else has happened. There may be references to that universe, so that it ties into the other books that I don't know about. If that is the case, I didn't feel like that reading it. I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I felt like everything was there laid out for me, that I could follow what's happening and appreciate it. Now, in this one, we do get a lot of character development. We spend time with the characters. There's 7 characters, and they all get enough time for me to care about them. So each of them I felt invested in. There was enough about them and kind of where their heads are and what they're going through that I felt like I can connect with all of them. Like I'm invested in all of them. I felt like they were all fleshed out, which is huge because you don't have a lot of time to develop 7 characters. I mean, it's hard to do, but they managed to do it. Now, issue 2, we do spend a lot of time with the characters, and I thought if this is a full issue of just learning characters and just spending time with them and the story not moving, I'm fine with it because I was having a great time. But towards, in the second half, I'll just say that in the second half, the story does come back, and it comes back in a big way. I loved that we had time with the characters, and we don't feel rushed. And I love that. And I love the way that it kind of just comes at you when you don't expect it. I was almost starting to get comfortable, like, okay, this is an issue full of characters, learning characters, getting to know them, and bam, the main story comes back. The pacing was great. There's very small details in the artwork, and this strikes me as a series that will add small details that will matter. So you notice things, you look out for things, and when you know that there's time and energy put into these little details, you appreciate them a lot more because you know that it's there for a reason. Sometimes they're not there for a reason. So I really like that. That they'll pay off later. The artwork I really liked. There's some of it looks almost like photo referencing, and I don't know if that is or not, but some of the characters look familiar. Their faces look familiar. I mentioned the last time I talked about number 1, there was a character who looked like Bill Cosby, which was kind of strange. I kept thinking about Jell-O and other things. The artwork, though, is great. I love the artwork. Other than some of the characters looking familiar, like real world people, it takes me out of the book sometimes when someone looks too similar to someone who like an actor or someone who I know or have seen in the flesh. It's not the same. Sometimes that is distracting for me. It may not be the case for everyone. The artwork is great. The horror artwork, there's some great horrific artwork that's just really great. Some great layouts, some great panels. There's especially a 2-page spread that is just spectacular. I loved it. I loved pretty much everything about this one. I'm excited to see where it's going. I'm fully on board with this one. I have faith in Jeff Lemire because he just does some really wonderful work. So, really love this one. Great book. I'm excited to see where they go next. And, I think it is the pacing for the story for issues 1 and 2 has been just great so far. It's rolled out just fast enough to where we're learning about the characters. We're not just jumping into the main story without getting invested, and we have enough of both to feel like we're getting somewhere and we're learning the characters. That's not always easy to do. A lot of creators can't do that. So when it happens, it's really special. Now, my pick of the week is, which you already know because you've seen the title of the episode, but is The Sacrificers number 1, and this is by Rick Remender, art by Dave McCraig and Max Fiumara. This is by Image Comics. Now, this one, I went back and read because I just saw Rick Remender and I picked it up, and the cover looked interesting, so I picked it up. Now, for this one, there is a preview on the Image website and on some other sites that give away something that I would have rather not known. I'm glad I didn't read it because when I went back and read the previews for it, I read the synopsis, it gave away some things that I thought, I'm glad I didn't know that. going in, because I felt like it ruined a part of the book, or reveal in the book, I guess you can say. So in this world, we are in a paradise. It's a world that doesn't have famine, doesn't have plagues. It seems like it's a really peaceful place, but there's a price that has to be paid for this peace to remain. And we see this world from a few different perspectives. One from the people who are living in the world, and one from people who are kind of pulling the strings. Now, the sacrifice, as you know, there's a sacrifice that has to be made, and we get to know a family, and we have these animal creatures that I love, that we get this different perspective of these creatures, like we're birds that we get to know. There's a family, there's a family dynamic there that I thought was just heartbreaking, and this book has it all. It has some great world building. It has some great character development. It has everything. It's a perfect first issue. It had me invested, and the artwork and the layouts are very dynamic. It feels, when you read it, it flows very well. There's some artwork, there's some panels that say so much, even though there's no dialogue, there's no text, but they convey so much of the story with just the artwork, and that doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's pages with some really wonderful artwork that can stand on its own, but it's layered with text everywhere, or with dialogue. And you don't always need all that. You don't always need it. You don't always let the artwork breathe. And I felt like these sacrificers did that. I let the artwork convey the story without having to spell it out for you. And it read like a movie. It's very cinematic. It's very dynamic. I think it was just wonderful. It just flows seamlessly. So yeah, just wonderful start for the series. I'm fully on board. I'm a huge fan of grief, and so I'm on board with this one. It was more kind of science fiction fantasy than I expected. I wasn't sure really what to expect from the cover. I just thought like fantasy, but it's so much more than that. And if this series can deliver, it's shaping up to be. I'm blown away by it. So very, very encouraged by this first issue. And it's my pick of the week. Just a really great pick. I kept going back and forth with that one and Tenement number 2, but just the way it pulled my heartstrings in that first issue for the Sacrificers, I couldn't not make it my pick of the week. I kept going back and forth, but ultimately pulling my heartstrings, it's just, you have to go with it, because the emotional response that I had in that book was just one I haven't had in a while. It just spoke to me. Really, really great. It's one that I still think about after reading it. It's one you'll think about after you're done reading it. You don't just close it and walk away. You still think about it later. And when that happens, it's something special. So really great stuff. So that was my pick of the week. I hope you all are having a fantastic week. I hope this helped. If you are listening along, if you'd like to connect with me, the best place is on pagechewing.com. We have a blog front page, and we also have some forums with a really wonderful community there. We have group reads scheduled for a bunch of different series. We're going to start reading The Sandman. We're going to read the Alan Moore Swamp Thing. We're going to read a bunch of other stuff. So it's open to anyone. We have a really wonderful group there. They do like D&D online campaigns. We have a writer's battleground thing. We have just wonderful people there. So if you'd like to join, go by there and register if you aren't already, and let me know that you're listening, because I wonder sometimes. So thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to listen. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you listening and supporting the show. And I hope you're having a fantastic week. Just want to mention I will be out of town this week, and I won't be back until the following week. So there won't be an episode next Sunday, but I will do something in 2 weeks to make up for it. I'm not sure what, but I'll also keep posting our Berserk discussions. We're also having a discussion for Killer Be Killed, and we have some other stuff. So keep your ears peeled for that. Until then, I hope you all have a great week. Thank you again for your time, and we will talk to you soon.